right, breaking news now. A verdict has been reached in the Ahmaud Arbery federal civil rights trial. That's the courthouse right there. All three of Arbery's killers, that's Travis and Gregory McMichael and William, Roddie, Bryan, have all been found guilty of violating Arbery's civil rights. We are monitoring this developing story, and of course, we're going to bring you updates as they come in. For more on the significance of this verdict, let's bring in Doug Burns, criminal defense attorney and former federal prosecutor. Thank you for joining us. Obviously, this is a very fluid situation right now. So are you at all surprised by this verdict, and why or why not? I remember we spoke with someone last week who talked about just how difficult it would be to get into the minds of these three people.
Ordinarily, first of all, I'm not surprised, and second of all, here's why. Ordinarily, it is difficult to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury that they specifically targeted the victim because of their race. But here, they had a lot of evidence in the form of text messages and social media postings that were very, very negative for their case. They showed all kinds of animus toward African Americans. They were very, very racist, a lot of the material. And I think at the end of the day, that's what did them in. The second thing that did them in was that their argument that the victim, was committing a crime really wasn't borne out by the facts in the video. And not to be corny, that's the way we want trials to work, okay? They made a claim that this person was menacing in the neighborhood, but they couldn't sustain that, and they paid the price, as they should have.
So what does this verdict, would you say about the justice system? Because as you know, so many times there has been video of incidents caught on video, and we've seen those play out in the court system, and it hasn't necessarily gone the way that we would think. So how will this impact similar cases, do you think?
No, I think it's a positive development. I mean, as you say, in the past, and I don't like to look to the past. I'd rather look to the present and the future. But in the past, we had a lot of injustices, obviously, in our system, even with videotape, as you just said, and you're right. But I think it's a positive step in the right direction. I mean, the video, again, showed that the individual wasn't committing any crimes and so forth. So I think it's a positive step in general. That's the way I see it.
So what type of sentencing do you foresee for the McMichaels, the father-son duo, and then William, Roddie, Bryan as well in regard to this verdict?
Well, first of all, they've been convicted, in state court and received life imprisonment. Okay, I'm not calling into question why they were double prosecuted or re-prosecuted in federal court. Maybe it was sort of an insurance policy in case the state case somehow runs into problems on appeal. But the reality is they're going to get, extremely high sentences, in the vicinity of life imprisonment. It'll run concurrent to the other one, which is academic, given actuarial concepts, how old they are and so forth. The point is they've received life imprisonment in the state case, and now this will be probably another life term on top of it.
Right. So I want to talk a little bit about the social media and the text message aspect of that, because that was really interesting to me to kind of, it was also hard to read and hard to watch and listen to, but it was such a key part of this federal hate crimes trial. What precedent do you think that this verdict now sets moving forward as far as social media and things that can be used in the future?
No, it's a great question. I mean, first of all, people should be very wary, the old cliche, don't post things that you wouldn't be comfortable seeing on the front page of the newspaper. But the point is, not to get in the weeds, and I keep it, very straightforward. The point is there's a rule of evidence in federal court, Rule 404, which talks about other prior bad behavior. So you have a little bit of an academic and a legal point there. In other words, is that really, probative of what happened the day in question, that they said something 2 years ago? I suspect that that'll be raised on appeal, but that's in the judge's discretion. The judge balances, by the way, and it makes sense, the probative value versus the prejudice involved to the three defendants. But again, back to your original question, 404B evidence, as we call it, is always at the heart of many, many dust-ups in trials. What is a judge going to let in about prior conduct? How is it going to affect the case? Because remember something, they weren't charged with a crime based on those prior postings. But your specific point is even more worth highlighting, which is, if you post things on social media and you send texts and so on, those could come back to haunt you in an evidentiary context at some point. It's very possible. And it happened here.
Yeah. All right. Doug Burns, criminal defense attorney and former federal prosecutor. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right. Again, the three men convicted of murdering Ahmaud Arbery have all been found guilty of a federal hate crime. We are live in Brunswick, Georgia in just moments, so make sure you stick with us. We're right back.